Hey, ambitious professionals, it's Linda Rayner of lindarayner.com, guiding you to a career and life you'll truly enjoy. And today I'm talking to one of my awesome students and clients. Her name is Viki. Viki is someone who's in the pharmaceutical field. She was looking for her next new challenging position. She was trying to veer into a different path. And once we started working together through the Stand Out Get Hired program, she was able to eventually achieve her dream position. And she's here to share with you exactly what she did and how she did it. So, Viki, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Hi, Linda. Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. So, Viki, let's just jump right into it. Why don't you share with the audience your story in terms of, where were you at when you were first looking for that next new job? What were you doing, and how was your job search going?
Sure. So, start off with a little bit of background information. I graduated in 2018 from pharmacy school. I got my Doctor of Pharmacy degree, and right out of school, I obtained a position in a regular retail community setting. That wasn't what I wanted to be in, but as a fresh graduate, it's really difficult to find a position. So that's the job that I've taken to just to gain more work experience, and then so I can look for new opportunities as I gain more experience. Before I talked to you, I was in a place where I felt like I was doing everything I can to apply for jobs, looking for jobs, going to interviews, and I was getting some interviews, but I never got the offer. And I got to a point where I was just really frustrated with myself. I didn't know what else I needed to do. And at some point, I was starting to question, is it me? Am I not good enough as a new grad to compete with these other experienced, I guess, experts or individuals to get these positions I wanted? And then I reached out to you, and then the rest is history. And now I'm here.
Okay, that's amazing. So let's talk a little bit more, Vicky, about what was going on when you realized that you wanted to make that switch. So you started applying for jobs. So you were in the pharmaceutical retail setting. So just like if I went into a pharmacy at a grocery store, you were one of those people that would have been there to help me. So you wanted to switch into a bit of a different path. What did you notice? You were applying for jobs. What was happening? How many jobs did you apply for? Did you get any interviews? What were employers saying to you?
Yeah, so there are many different areas in pharmacy, and then it's very specific. The area I was in is called retail. Even though the skill sets, it's essentially you can transfer that skill set to a different job that's a little bit different from the retail setting, but it's just on paper because there are so many technical terms, it's kind of hard to get noticed. So that was issue number one. Issue number two was I just constantly had this thing in my head telling me that I'm not as experienced. I'm not exactly what they're looking for because in the job descriptions, they specifically list things that they're looking for. And as I'm reading through some of those, I was just thinking, I'm never going to get this job because I don't even know what that is. So these are some the biggest challenges that I can recall that I had, and it just was such a mental struggle at the time before I reached out to you. And how many jobs did I apply? 10 or 20. I was being selective because I knew what area I wanted to go in. I didn't want to just cast my net wide and apply for anything because I had a goal in my head. So I was being selective. I probably got maybe 4 or 5 interviews and no offers.
Right. Okay. So one of the biggest things you mentioned, and I think this is something that a lot of people can relate with, is the feeling that when they want to make a bit of a career switch into a slightly different path using their skills and knowledge, they feel that they don't have enough experience. So you felt inexperienced,
Hmm.
having only worked a couple years. Okay. So when you applied for these jobs and you got these interviews, how did those interviews go? How, you would be sitting in front of the hiring manager, they were asking you questions. How did you feel? How were your answers? Did you feel good? What was that process like?
Oh my gosh. Looking back, I was so nervous. I recall during one of the interviews, I was trembling. Actually, I was shaking because I was so nervous because the whole time in my head, I was just telling myself, don't mess up, don't say anything that make you look inexperienced. And I guess in the back of my mind, I'm basically telling myself I'm not good enough. I'm just putting up a front to tell them that please hire me kind of mentality. So, yes, I was very nervous. It was an interesting experience.
Yeah, so when you're nervous, and this happens to a lot of people, when you're nervous, you end up rambling or you end up freezing up. What was your kind of reaction? Was it both or one or the other?
I stuttered a little bit. I tried not to use as much. Sometimes you just naturally do that when you speak, but I think because I was so nervous, it sounded like I was doing more ums and uhs than I normally would. But now I look back, I actually don't know how many ums and uhs I did during my interview, but if I feel like I did a lot, I probably did.
Yeah, right. So you just didn't feel confident in your
Exactly.
interviews. Okay, so then let's talk about once you decided to make that decision to reach out to me, what kind of sparked that desire for you to reach out to a career coach like myself and to get that extra help?
Yeah, so before graduating, I was actually preparing for a kind of a postdoctoral type of position. I really needed help in preparing interviews because it's extremely competitive process for all the other pharmacists out there or pharmacy students out there. They know exactly what I'm talking about. School, they teach you all these wonderful knowledge, but they don't teach you some of these essential skills in the real world. So I was looking for something that's going to help me stand out. You can have, you know, wonderful GPA, exceptional CV, just look great on paper. But if you walk in and you don't know how to present yourself, it's game over. So I wanted to do some homework on my own to help myself stand out. So I was following your YouTube videos initially, and I actually signed up for your top-notch resume course to help me tailor my resume a little bit more away from the clinical side. So I knew that my resume CV is going to look different from the rest of my classmates. So I needed a little bit more assistance in that department.
Okay, that's great. So then you signed up for the Top Notch Resume program, and then eventually you decided to sign up for Stand Out Get Hired, the one-on-one coaching program.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. So we started working together. I know that there was a huge change in how you progressed and how you developed over the course of the program. But why don't you tell the audience a bit about your experience with the one-on-one coaching program, Stand Out Get Hired?
Yeah, I think the biggest improvement, the biggest change I personally noticed is the mental health aspect because I was at a place where I just felt I wasn't good enough. Even though I know I am, but it was just because I wasn't seeing the results I wanted to. And it was messing with my head, making me feel like I wasn't good enough with these jobs. But if you really break down or you help me see that, is you break down the skills and then it helped me realize that these are nothing that I haven't been exposed to or have the skill set that I can transfer to this position. It's all about how to present yourself to these potential employers and make them understand that you are a viable candidate. So that was the biggest change. And then as a result, confidence came back. I feel much more confident and happier, just more positive. I recall I used to get really upset over small things just because, in the back of my mind, I'm always just feeling like, I'm not where I need to be. I'm not good enough, all that awful stuff. Yep.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And, that's not like you're not weird for feeling that way. I think that's naturally how people feel is once you start applying, you're very optimistic. You think that, oh, it shouldn't be that hard for me to
Yes.
find something. And I think everyone feels that way when they first start looking for their next position. And then when they realize that they're getting rejected or they're not getting the results that they want, of course that impacts your confidence. And of course that impacts how you feel about yourself. So that makes total sense. And I'm so glad that that shifted for you, that now you clearly you look different, you sound different, you're projecting yourself in a much more confident way, and I feel like it's completely authentic to you and what you were able to do the whole time. It's just bringing that out. So let's talk about your results. So you worked through the program. I taught you all the skills in terms of resume, interviews, job search strategy, all those things. So what ended up happening?
Yeah. So after understanding how the whole process work and how to create this perfect resume and how to present yourself in employers, actually right after our sessions, it was the first position I applied to. It wasn't the position I was hoping for, but I just want to try it out and see where it goes. I actually got an email, I believe it was a week later, asking me to come in for an interview. I was really surprised because that was the first job I applied to after our coaching sessions. I remember I was really excited. I shared that with you. I went in for the interview, and then a week or two later, I got offered the position. This is not a position that I'm currently in, but it was a great confidence booster for me and a validation that I am somebody employer is seeking. I can do exactly what they want me to do. The position was a little bit different from the retail setting, so that really confirmed that, Vicky, you can do this, can, reach your dreams and reach your goals. So that was great.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you got out of retail pharmaceuticals, you got into this sort of, I would say, this kind of like an intermediate role,
Mhm.
and that was your stepping stone. And then what happened after that?
Yeah, it wasn't too long after I started at that position, I saw this job posting, this company that I have been wanting to work for. A funny story, prior to starting our coaching sessions, I actually interviewed with them at the time I didn't get that position. And I was really bummed out. And then, so since then, I've been keeping an eye on their career website. And not too long after I started that previous position I mentioned, I went on their career website just casually looking and I saw this job posting. And then I immediately applied and then I got the interview. Um, and then the rest is history. And now I'm currently working for that company that I've been trying to work for a while.
That is so good. I mean, I think that gives hope to a lot of people too, because some people maybe in the last few months they've applied to a company and they got rejected. But you're a clear example that you can apply and get rejected, but then apply again in a new way using a
Hmm.
different approach and get the job.
Yes.
So that was you.
Yes. And I also want to add that even though I was super bummed previously, I didn't get the position, it's really important to leave it on a good note. Even though at the time I felt so rejected. I just felt like they didn't like me and there must be something wrong with myself. Just all these negative thoughts. But at the time, I decided to, because I want to work for this company very much, I left on a good note by asking them for positive feedback, asked them to stay in touch. So this time when I applied, rather than just waiting, I directly reached out to the person I interviewed with and then kind of just sent an email to say hi to reconnect. And then this time I was able to present myself in a different way, much more confident, and I knew how to professionally convince them that I am what you're looking for.
Amazing. That's so good. So you ended up getting two job offers shortly after completing the Stand Out Get Hired program. So I want to ask you this is what would you say to the audience who is wondering about signing up and working with a career coach like myself, signing up for the Stand Out Get Hired program, someone who's looking for a new job, they want to make a career switch and they're not sure whether it's the right thing to do. What would you say to them?
First things first, when you make that transition, is definitely going to be intimidating because it's a new field that you're trying to get in. There is that possibility that you know you may not get there right away, or all these unknowns that can make somebody feel, I guess, insecure. But investment in yourself is extremely important. I know that coaching program has a price tag, but I do believe that it's a good thing to invest in yourself because the skills I've learned through our coaching sessions is something that I can take away. I was able to carry that through two different job positions that I applied to. I don't believe that I needed constant guidance after the coaching session because I have already absorbed what it was taught. So I was able to utilize what I learned and transfer that to my current job position when I was interviewing. So I definitely think it's investment in yourself, and then in the long run, you can take these skills in other endeavors, not just applications, but also in other areas professionally as well.
Amazing. That's so great. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, what I like to tell people is, once you take the program, Stand Out, Get Hired, you're going to learn the skills just as if you went to driving school. You learn how to drive one time in your life for a short period of time, and then you take those skills and you know how to drive for the rest of your life, pretty much. So it's the same thing. A lot of people aren't taught how to interview well. They're not taught how to sell themselves, how to prepare their resumes in the right way, all those things. And but once you learn them, you'll know how to do them forever. I don't have to go back to you to teach you that. You already know it. Now you can use those skills for yourself and carry them forward to the end of your career pretty much.
Yes.
So, yes, great. What would you say to those people who believe that all you need to do is just Google information online and hopefully that's enough? What do you say to those people who aren't aware that maybe they need more help? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, I've done it. Obviously, that didn't work. And I signed up for your course. It was helpful, but the difference is having an instructor break things down for you. When you read something, you can interpret the content in so many ways. And then without somebody there to guide you and instruct you and help you understand, there's only so much you can take out of the context. So, yes, you can try, and then if it works out for somebody, that's great. That's amazing, but it wasn't for me. Obviously, I tried myself, and I knew I needed guidance because, I did your course, I did other online resources, and I wasn't getting the results I needed. I knew something had to change.
Yeah, I think that there were just a few little things that needed to be patched up, and sometimes you can only get that from having that one-on-one guidance. So, thank you for sharing that. So, is there, anything else that you would say, any advice that you would give Vicky for someone who's just feeling low confidence, who's struggling with their job search? What would you say to them to help them move forward with where they're at?
Sure. I think the biggest thing is to remember that you are good enough. I know it sounds super cheesy and cliche, but it's true. The fact that you are watching this video, hearing me talking about how to get better, it shows that this individual or you or the audience is motivated enough to seek solution to resolve an issue. So that right there shows ambition, and that tells me that you are great, and then you just have to remember that.
Amazing. I think that's going to hit home for a lot of people because I think a lot of people are feeling not great right now. But hopefully, after this, they'll have some inspiration and they'll be able to have some takeaways from you, Vicky. So, thank you so much for sharing. If you are someone who is in the same position that Vicky was in just a little while ago, where you're looking for your next position, you're going on interviews, but you're not getting the job offers that you feel you deserve, and you realize that you want to get that extra guidance, that one-on-one professional help from me, then feel free to reach out to my website, lindarainer.com/standoutgethired. Read through the page, fill in the application form, and from there, we'll be able to reach out to you directly. So thank you so much, Vicky, for sharing your story and inspiring all of us today. It was a great honor to have you on this episode.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you for having me. And good luck to all the professionals out there. You all do great. The road is tough, but you can make it through. I believe in you.
Awesome. Yes. So thank you again for watching today's video. If you liked it, then please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, share this with your friends. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.